Hello, welcome. Good afternoon to our Tomorrow Starts Now HSMAI live show for this week. My name is Sascha Dalig. I'm working with Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, and I'm very happy to be a host of the session for today. As you may all know, we have hosting this session every Tuesday, covering different topics and different panelists. And today we're having a look at education of new talents, of challenging the industry, that's looking out to, and the launch of our new created HSMAI Students Council. I would love to talk you through a few housekeeping rules for today. First of all, I need to show you our antitrust special statement and give you a moment just to read through our antitrust special statement. Today, and you do see some panelists already on the show, this day will be shared by my colleague Emil Schäferhout, who is sharing the new to be created HSMAI Students Council. And I'm very happy, Emil, to have you on the board today and have you as a panelist today. Next week's topics, and we're going to give a very glimpse idea of what's coming up next week, is a revenue management topic, and it will be hosted by my colleague Frederic Toito. Sign up is always possible on our website, hsmay.eu, and we would love to welcome all of you visitors and viewers for today to be together with us next week again. For today, I would like to encourage you to use the chat on your right side to give us questions, ask questions, raise points, and ask everything you want to know from the panelists. And I mentioned them a few times right now. I would like to welcome all of you very much. Hello, Caroline Schäferhout from Hotel School The Hague. Nice to have you on board. It's Stephanie Pouget with us from the École Hôtellerie de Lausanne, and from Maastricht, Josje van Dongen, the Hotel Management School in Maastricht. Welcome very much, and welcome Emil, the chair of the new to build Students Council within HSMAI Europe. I already went through a very small, a very brief introduction. I don't want to go too deep within everything what we are doing. I think it's a lot, and all of you are doing a lot. We had a few minutes before the show to discuss a few topics. And I would love to give you a small introduction of the structure of the day. We're having a look into the current change status and the challenges you are facing in education at all your schools and universities, which would really is an interesting point for us to know what challenges are you facing. From that on, we will take a deep dive in what we do see in operations in our hotels. So as I'm covering the DACH market, the DACH region for Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, I would love to give you a small idea of what has happened within the last 1.5 years in the hotels itself. And we try to match this given information and enrich it a bit to see how we can attract and build the post-COVID world and see what we can do for and with the talents around there. Finally, and this will be the most time-consuming point, I hope, will be a discussion with Emil leading the discussion a bit about the concept of our Students' Council, take some time to discuss the expectations you would have as our panelists. Hopefully, you as our visitors today and viewers today will give us some hints and ideas of what you would expect from the Student Council to be. And I would like to kickstart today's sessions with a question to our schools and universities. Any one of the three of you, please feel free to take the question and get the answer right away. Back online or on campus or a combination, what would you think would be the best way to educate in a post-COVID world in the starting winter semester for the year? I will start probably with Josje. Would you like to give us an idea? Will you be back in school? Will you partly be back in school? What will be your approach for the next semester?
Well, thank you. What we hope and what we're aiming for is that in September we will be back on site on campus again. We love to do that. The students love to do that. The lecturers love to do that. But on the other hand, of course, we learned a lot as well over the last 1.5 years about being online and what the advantages also can be. So to make use of the strength of at site, at the campus and online, it's going to be mixed. So it's going to be blended and to make it as personal as possible. And of course, we need to find out, we need to balance that, but it's going to be a blended version. Yeah. Yeah, mainly at the location. That's at least what we're aiming at, to have that personal connection.
Thank you very much. It is something we do see in schools around here in Germany. We have the pupils being sent back to schools finally, and coming out of a very blended learning version right now, being back in schools. Stephanie, how do you see it here in Lausanne? Is the situation quite similar to what Josie just showed, or will you be focusing more on a digital way of edutaining?
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity, and good day, everyone. So at EHL, well, we strive to provide our students with experiential education paths with a social learning context and opportunities for lifelong employability and personal growth based on let's say flexibility. So for a long time, students had online classes, but then we've moved to a high flex hybrid situation where part of the students are on campus and the other half of students are online. So we are in the classroom and we have both students online and in the physical classroom, and therefore there is with the sanitary measures we have in Switzerland, we update kind of daily as much as possible so that we have students back on campus, and we aim to maintain learning processes that would allow students to have an education path that would fit into their learning style. So similar to what Joshi has just said before, it's going to be more a blended learning situation with synchronous, asynchronous learning made possible, and as much as possible as well, video of lectures are available to students, pre-recording of exercises, lecture recording as well, so that in the end, it's as modulable as possible to help students be more autonomous and somehow build up their self-discipline in terms of learning.
I love modulable. Sounds great to me. I could ask Caroline the same question to you, but I would like to take another approach. Do you think there is a straight way back to normal, or will there be a new normal, like Stephanie, like Josie just mentioned, a blended way, a modulable? I need to pronounce it a few times to learn it. Thank you, Stephanie. Nice for me to learn. A modulable learning in the new normal after this pandemic.
Thank you, Sascha, for that question. Hi, everyone. Same from all the way from Amsterdam as well. Nice to be here. With us, I would say it varies a little bit per program. We have 3 programs. We're most known for our large bachelor program, which is also the program that struggled the most, I think, with not being allowed on campus so long. Same as with Josje down south from us. And we also have an MBA program, which is only 25 students, and we're launching a new program in September, Leading Hotel Transformation, which will be for the first batch only 36. In those 2 master programs, the being on campus is super vital to an extent that we've even put our MBA on hold last year and also this year to make sure that we can be on campus. That's how important the not necessarily the on-campus experience, but the group the dynamics are in that group. They both have a strong focus on hospitality leadership, in which they really need to interact with their peers in order to go through that course and learn from each other. So in that sense, we're hoping nothing will change and we will go back to the way things were in September. When it comes to online, we did learn from our big sister, the Bachelor, that online exam taking is highly appreciated by our students, to either have the choice to do it on their laptop, on campus, being supervised by invigilators, or to have the opportunity to do it any place with, of course, within certain requirements, in the same time zone, or on the same time, I mean, but then being proctored, which of course some students may have their opinion on when it comes to privacy, etc. So they have both options, but at least to switch to doing exams, written exams, that is on a laptop. For the bachelor, I know they're working on a more hybrid version, I think similar to what Stephanie and what Joshua were also sharing, to see what benefits you can take. But yeah, also being an hospitality program, hotel management program, just like you two are, Joshua and Stephanie, we will never move to a sort of 100% online type of setting, especially I think even more for the first or second years, where you're still really setting the scene for them for what is hospitality and how important interaction is there. From all aspects, I think being on campus is highly preferred for everybody. But definitely when it comes to recording lectures or assignments, or that will be our approach as well.
What you just mentioned, Caroline, about the group dynamics is really key. We do have about over 30 student committees at EHL, plus the students are really used to work in groups. This is how they are built. They also build their learning, and they help each other with the interaction. And it's true that it's been challenging having different students from 120 different countries working in different time zones. Yet it's where somehow they had to take more risks. They had to be innovative as well, and we had to. And it's also an opportunity to learn from the situation and to find out new paths for growing in the end.
Yeah.
It's lovely to hear, because it's what I do think. So we are a human-centric business, and this is what it comes to at the end of the day. You want to be a host, and then even if we are creating mainly management out of, or recruiting mainly management out of your great schools, I think it's very necessary for them to have an idea of what group dynamics is how to build relationships, how to work in groups. And Stephanie, thank you very much for the heads up. 120 different countries. Yes, that's exactly what is in the business, isn't it? So we do have guests from all over the world, hopefully soon again, as soon as travel rebounds that way. So I think, and if I understand correctly, there is no straight way back to the past normal. It is a new normal. There will be some part of blended learning, but the focus, and this is very, very crucial for me, is still on humans. It is on people being together and being hosts and really understanding what hospitality is about.
Mm-hmm. In the end, in our hospitality schools, we strive to make them be customer centric leaders and managers, and in the end ourselves, we shall be learner centric when it comes to their education and all the learning processes and tools we can provide them with.
Yes, absolutely. Just a shout out to our audience and viewers around. Please feel free to ask any questions in these topics we are discussing. So it is our heads, and it was our top of mind, the question that came out there. So if there's any question from your side, please feel free to drop us in the chat box so we can pop it up on the screen and then pull you into the audience and answer your questions straight away. We've seen something, and there was a report that was shared with us over the weekend with Emil and me, with our colleagues from the US telling us that they did see a significant drop in numbers. And Caroline, you just mentioned you have shrunken the number of applications due to the fact to have the students together, to be able to have them on campus again. You even paused the master program, if I understand correctly, a moment ago. Is this something you do see as a general trend? We have decreasing numbers in student applications, or are you feeling it's the same like it was before?
But no, I don't think I meant to say that the numbers were decreasing. I think that we spoke about internships earlier, and there, of course, students were really struggling with finding an operational position. But in terms of decreasing numbers in applications for all three of our programs, we're not necessarily seeing that. In fact, for our master programs, there are more applicants than we expected. Also because I think due to maybe the concern that the industry will take longer than we all hope to recover, that they think, okay, I always wanted to maybe do a master program or MBA, or maybe now is the time to really focus on that. So I think for now, the master programs are benefiting from maybe a slower recovery, whereas that's, of course, totally the opposite for the bachelor, where in order to finish properly, they really need an internship that suits the program, and they want to jumpstart their career afterwards. So yeah, how we look at it as a school is sometimes also in management meetings 100% the opposite, or 180 degrees, because from my master program perspective, I'm well, not happy in that sense with the increase, but yeah, it's a good thing because there's more to choose from in that sense. But for our bachelor students who are just graduating, it's of course not a desirable situation by far. No.
So thank you very much for clarifying a bit, and then I got it wrong here. It is interesting. Yeah, we have more applicants for the master due to the fact that they are not able to be out there and work within the hotels. We have less internships. I think something I can underline from an industry perspective very much. Josie, is it something that you see the same way, or do you see a decrease in number of applicants?
No, it's a bit the same in a way as what Caroline and I think Stephanie also, if I see it well, is saying. The number of applicants is staying high. So there's plenty of perspective, I think, for the students, and I do agree for that for the future. So that's good news. On vocational level, I mean, that's not what we're offering, but more generally, if I see on vocational level, I think there the difficulties of getting enough applicants is a bit different. Although if I experience now from the industry, well, staff is needed, so there's a new message sending out. So hopefully that's recovering a bit. But for Hotel Management School Maastricht, up to now, it's the same story as it used to be. So pleased by that.
Excellent, and we badly need those professionals. I can absolutely admit we will need those high trained specialists in the future. We will need those hosts around and understanding this changing world. So we really badly need all those plenty of students you do have in your system right now.
I think that, if I may, Sascha, also where our responsibility as schools actually comes in, to make sure that we inform every applicant, whether for a vocational education or a bachelor or master, about how the industry is actually doing. I mean, all of our schools, we have research centers that are fully on top of this and looking at what's happening in the business. Depending on the level of school, I mean, the level of program. For a bachelor, families are usually more a little bit involved in helping making choices. For masters, that's usually a little bit different. So at schools, we should really make sure that we have the right knowledge and facts available to prove to applicants, to their families, to whoever's involved, to the schools that we also all go out to and talk to youngsters, that we make sure that we have factual information on how the business is doing and what the business is doing to recover and still be an employer, a preferred employer, an employer of choice once things are getting better slowly but surely. And because the world has changed, that's also a fact, and also showing in research, it offers also amazing opportunities for graduates who have also gone through this whole pandemic, and their resilience and agility, we just spoke about it, have been tried and tested, and they are also a different type of graduate in multi-levels than the ones that have graduated before and have not had to go through this entire switch.
Absolutely agree. Thank you very much for underlining this. Stephanie, a question to you. If you would put it in a very, very brief answer, what is needed to make our industry, the hospitality, sexy and attract new and encourage talents? What is the one thing we would need to really attract it to a whole younger generation, let's say Generation Z, who are mainly in the business already?
Well, what comes to my mind just right now is, we do have job observatories, as Karin just mentioned, to survey regularly the sectors, industries' needs, and to make the hospitality sector more attractive to students. Probability is high. We've got to take care of all the talent management processes we have in place right now. Because all future students finding a job, they will review like clients would use many different OTAs. Those future employees would use also different platforms to let's say inform others on their employee experience, be it as an applicant or as a newcomer in a company. And from different surveys and statistics, we know that a strong employer brand can increase your quality of hire by 9%, for instance, that many job seekers would first have a look at those different job platforms to learn about the employers. So it's up to us employers to be in those trends, considering the future of work, try to understand how remote workers, flexible workers, the digital workplace also might have an impact on our processes, and use all the data we can have available to build a better, let's say, psychological and social contracts with future employees. And in particular, let's say, deliver the promise. Make the right promise based on the data that we can find out through research and studies, and then deliver the promise in terms of talent management, well-being at work, for instance, and employability for those future employees.
Thank you very much. It's interesting. It's a second time, and Caroline, you just mentioned we need to become the employers of choice. You were just saying that we need to be able to create a vision, but to really underline this vision with jobs to make sure that these jobs are there, and we will have it in the future as well. Absolutely understand. Is it and Josje?
Yeah, perhaps to add, if I may, to add.
Yes, please.
Because when I speak to students, or when we speak to students, and we do a lot, because when students are placed for their internship, they have their first round of interview at our school with ourselves. So we know exactly what they are looking for and also what fits them. You can see quite clearly that students are looking either for a career in the hospitality industry, in a very professional surrounding, climbing the ladder in a steep way and getting the opportunities they love to develop themselves. So that's perhaps also a bit of the traditional setting, which we rather know. On the other hand, you see students who are really looking for the space to innovate, to be an entrepreneur, to have freedom, to experiment, to do it themselves. And those companies or those opportunities they get or they grasp are very important to them as well. While being a bit stuck in the middle, that's difficult. That's difficult because students are not that eager to do their internship in companies which are a bit stuck in the middle.
Yeah, and if I may add then to you again, Josje, that's also where I think, I know it's an HTH perspective, but also my personal perspective, and I know Maastricht very well in that sense because we're in the same country, we cooperate on many levels. Also, the internship offices work closely together. I think. Also tapping on, if I may, onto one of the comments in the chat made by Peter, that UK employers are still paying low wages. That's what made me think of what I want to say, is that one of the other hotel schools in the Netherlands, NHL Stender, was really put their foot down and joined forces with the other hotel schools in saying to employers in the region of Amsterdam, hotel employers specifically, like, if you want this talent, the students are investing a lot in joining any of our schools. It's also important that you appreciate that talent. And Holland is one of the countries doesn't have a mandatory internship salary. And I think that the idea that students will join you and just super happy with working at that brand, giving their all simply for being able to put that name on their resume, that's a really an old-fashioned thing. And what Stenden did is they really put their foot down and said hotels in Amsterdam, if you want our talent, they're coming in all the way from the north. Amsterdam is an expensive city. You need to offer them more than just a very, very low salary. And it worked. In the beginning, hotels were, of course, like, no, but I'm this hotel chain. I mean, I do it as I want because I have so many hotels and you just wait. But because all the other hotel schools were, contemplated the same and had the same idea, it worked and it went up slowly. And I think that's where we have, that's my broader comment, as schools, a responsibility also to educate our internship companies and our future employers. Say, listen, we are putting a lot of effort into this talent. The students themselves are putting a lot of effort into their self-development. I think you're underestimating what you're hiring, and also between the level, the difference between they come from a master's level or they come from a bachelor's level. Sometimes there's a difference in wage while they're doing the same position, which is also odd. So there's also a responsibility for us, since we're training the future leaders who will become future employers and hiring managers, to instill that into them, that they also have a responsibility for the ones coming after them.
Yes, that's why research and development projects.
Sorry, I love the point you just made, and it came back to myself a few years back when I applied for a position, and I had an idea of what the position should be. I had an idea of what the salary should be, and I learned, and I think I don't need to name the company, but it was some ladies and gentlemen responding to me that it's all fine when we would have you here and we would love to have you on board, but it's a part of your resume and it would be on there. I was like, thank you very much. But at the end of the day, I need to pay my rents. And it's something you just mentioned very well. Even if it's London, if it's Amsterdam, it could be Hamburg, Switzerland, if it would be Lausanne or Zurich, I would say, well, you need to have a salary to be able to pay your rents and to live your life beside the work. It's a mandatory thing. Sorry, Stephanie, there was one thing you want to add.
Oh, sorry. Yes, it was just to say that it's also the objective of our research and development projects to bridge the gap between practitioners and the students. And as you just said, Karen, to also educate the industry about what employees look for in the future and what shall be part of the promise. And by the way, our students are the future game changers. So it's also our responsibility to build them as future sustainable, innovative leaders and managers who will be able to implement management systems where the wages are, let's say, perceived as fair for everyone, because they will become those ones making the decisions on those different compensation and benefit systems.
Yeah,
exactly. And you just mentioned the future, and I would love to, if you say they should be innovative. We heard agile before from Caroline. Josie, if I ask you, what would you see as the most needed skill in the next 5 years in hospitality management business?
Well, I think it's very much in the field of innovative entrepreneurial. So it's the creativity, it's the analytical thinking, it's also the daring, and dare to take a risk, dare to take a step, and learn. Keep on learning and being flexible in that sense as well. So whatever you do, learn from it and go ahead and take the next step. So it's very much that innovative entrepreneurial setting and skills and spirits and everything what has to do with that, which is at the center, I have the feeling. And yes, teamwork is part of that as well. So it sounds perhaps very individualistic, but that's not what I'm trying to say. I think that's that personal leadership, what is important. But having said that, working in a team in a very international, very multicultural setting, being flexible in that sense as well, is very important as well.
I think what struck me, if I may share again, something sort of Sascha, is that I've worked in our internship office for a long time, and what we would always be able to derive from internships report is, what did you like most about your internship? Most of the time, it wasn't necessarily the brand, it wasn't necessarily it was the manager that made the difference. It was how the level of welcoming that they received, the level of responsibility or explanation about if something wasn't possible. And that feeling of being welcomed and being appreciated for for being a learner, one, so being allowed to make mistakes, and two, being appreciated for the stuff that they do know already, because even though you're 20, you already you come with knowledge, right? So the appreciation for that. Then in their minds they connect it to a certain brand, and what happens often, we see it for their second internship, is like toothpaste, that they will they won't switch brands for that second opportunity, because the feeling was so good. And because of, unfortunately, some of the reputations for maybe properties or change, that my first experience was really good. I know that I'll be welcome. I know that I'll be able to learn something again to a certain extent. Let me stick with this company, and then later on I'll see where I end up. But companies overlook the fact that the brand isn't everything. Also, after this pandemic, when they reopen, I think it's a good opportunity for them to refresh themselves and look at their hiring and onboarding processes.
And it will be, and absolutely agree, Caroline, it will be the people making the difference, the managers creating the scene, creating the environment for people to feel welcome, feel at home. So even though if you're hiring or have been hired within the midst of the pandemic, as I was with Wyndham, it was interesting to see that the virtual onboarding is possible, and you still feel part of a company which is made by the managers. It is always. I would love to give you an idea with all your valuable input you gave so far. And I made a few notes, which I can't read anymore, but I will try to digest later. What's happening within the region, within the DACH region, and you are all aware that we will start normally from an apprenticeship level, where you have a dual system, partly in the hotels or in the industry, partly in schools. We found we need to reshape it completely. That's why I was asking, what are the skills in the future you see? What is needed to be, and let me say it again, to make it sexy again, to make it attractive for people to come to the hospitality industry. And we can't always come around and tell the people, well, you can work worldwide and it's all nice, but you will not even pay your rent at the end of the day. So there must be something new. There must be something very specific. And we are right now on a point where we are renewing this apprenticeship in Germany. So hopefully I'm able to share more about in a different round again. We are renewing it completely. We're putting things like revenue management, more reservation, more exclusive hotel task on the hotel management program. And we do have on the restaurant side some restaurant professionals that will be trained as well. And they will have an add-on on event management to make sure that the jobs are enriched and that the jobs are really fulfilling the needs and the last passion of the apprentices we do have in the hotels and in the industry again. What's happening within the corporate offices? And you mentioned just a moment ago the brand or the corporate offices, what is happening there in terms of internships. What we do see is that many of those big corporates like Choice, they are centralizing business. They are pulling out of the markets. They are centralizing all in Europe. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it is Amsterdam these days. So they are laying off people and reorganizing themselves. Accor recently announced a big reorganization, pulling back divisions together as one big one right now, working mostly out of London, decreased the number of people working in the certain countries to a very low level. We do see, on the other hand, it's interesting to see Whitbread is growing out of UK. They are expanding very much. They are planning 100 hotels to be opened in Germany only, and they began at the beginning of the year to take over hotels. So you see the expansion right now, and you see the team is growing. You see Radisson. They launched a new soft brand at the beginning of the year. They are keeping extending their teams. Marriott, IHG, on the other hand, they reduced the teams. You do see, or what we do see is that those being on a franchise level, mainly on a franchise level, are right now expanding. They are getting those talents on board and really enrich the teams with high trained professionals. And you do see those big changes coming from a asset heavy model, I would say, where they were mainly managers. They are reducing team numbers, and that was a thing very common within the last 1.5 years. Especially in Germany, we do see a decrease in the number of applications for apprenticeship. And this was something why I was asking you if it's the same within the university and the schools. And I'm more than happy to know that we will still have those highly trained management people in the future coming out of your schools. It's really the good part of the story for being around together. And something that happened in the last year as well, we did see, and it's probably very in line what you mentioned in terms of internships, Caroline. We did see many hotels pulling out of apprenticeship last year and reducing number of internships as well, due to the fact that there was no business. So what the hotels badly need right now is to have a business bouncing back, to be able to offer this, to be able to let those young talents learn something right now with no people around. So what should you learn if you have a 350 rooms hotel and 6 guests around? So it's not even possible to do a service unless you're not allowed to do any service at all. What's happening in terms of digitalization, and this is something I think it's very common, and we are quite digital today. Obviously, we should meet in person. That would be a nice round to have together on a real panel and share some more time after this hour we have together. But digitalization, I would say it's a helper in the future, and we need to use it to use it for repetitive processes, which we can just give onto a robot or to a machine or to a computer, to help our people being around the real hosts of the hospitality of the guests, and being the ones having all the information at hand. If I would go to a reception, I would be fine going to a check-in terminal or being served by a robot on the room for a room service, as long as I do know there's one special person I can refer to, and he or she is really aware of what's going around in the hotel, what's in the cinemas around, where's the best restaurant, and where is he or she getting the best kebab, which is absolutely nice to know, which is the secret tip you would need. And you mentioned a few times group dynamics and teamwork. Absolutely agree. I would say leadership is crucial, and it's done by human-centric experts in the future. And this is something what we really need. So how to achieve this, how to get people back? I think luckily we know you are having those people around. We do have those talents with you. For the hotels itself, we are looking for the right talents to attract. And I just received a question I'm referring to. Peter, thank you very much. What about robots in Japan? I can tell you, I just digest into the situation. Probably you are aware of it. There was a hotel chain in Japan that tried to replace the reception completely with robots. It was 2015, if I'm not mistaken. And there were some robots, some velociraptors, so some dinosaurs, and the classical check-in machine. They were pulling out of this again just a year or two back, and they are replacing the robots by humans due to the fact that this human factor is really working at the receptionist, is making a difference. Even though the robot did this process of checking in very well, all fine, but at the end of the day, there must be a human person doing the difference between just checking in and being in the box, or feeling welcome in a hotel. Okay, coming back to leadership and the human-centric process, and Emil, you kept quiet for 39 minutes, and I would love to pull you in the discussion right now. All of the heard information is leading to a point, leading to your point, not the point, starting the brand new HSMAI Students Council, and I'm very happy to have you here. And I would love to give you the stage for a moment to explain what are you thinking, what is it, and please briefly explain to us what can we expect.
Of course, thank you so much for the introduction, Sascha. Well, indeed, with HSMAI, we're launching a new initiative, which is called the HSMAI Europe Student Council. Apologies. And with this council, actually, we really want to reach out to students across hospitality business schools. I mean, look at the example Caroline just gave at what can happen if hospitality business schools start working together. And I mean, we've been doing so for many years. But with this initiative, we really want to connect students across schools. There are already some initiatives, but with this one, you really want to create a platform for students in hospitality in general, no matter what school they come from, no matter where they live, to voice their opinion to the employers, but also to the universities. We've discussed tons of great ideas, tons of great trends, also today during the session, and we really aim to bring this out to the students and also create I wouldn't say a counteraction, but also a force from the students within to voice their opinion on all these trends. Of course, the project is still in development, and that's what we need really many more conversations like these for. I suggest we continue this discussion and see what value you see in such a council, and how do you think such a council could help or benefit your students? Of course, I'll reach out to many students after this call or after this webinar, but this is really a good starting point to start creating ideas, to start creating points to start working on, so that starting from September 2021, we can launch this initiative and be a valuable platform for students to voice their opinion. And I already saw one question here in the chat about a student asking how we can start an internship in revenue management. I mean, these are also the questions we want to be there for students, so that they can reach out to us, so that they can reach out to a professional environment, but still in a student environment as well, where they can ask those questions to students who are also quite well connected with professionals. So I'd say let's open this discussion and see what value such a council can bring to your universities and your students.
Thanks a lot, Emil, and thanks a lot to all of you, to your views and to this initiative you're bringing up just today. We will have this European HSMAI Students Council to be started in September 2021. Just to point out again, Emil, to make sure everyone understands very well, when are we really starting? If I look up a council on Wikipedia, and I just did it recently, what does Wikipedia states what is a council standing for? It says a council is a group of people who come together to consult, deliberate, or make decisions. Mm-hmm. Because many schools have a student council, the council is the form of governance with which many people are likely to have their first experiences as electors or participants. And I think it took me a moment to say, what are we thinking of a students' council? How should we, and what should we do? And I found this extremely helpful for myself to see what are we looking for? People to be elected, people to be in there as participants and asking the questions and coming together as a group. And it was something you mentioned all earlier, the teamwork, the group work, the group's dynamics. It's more important than ever, I would say, to work with and deal with, as we still are in a human-centric industry. And you see another comment. If it's just a comment, we did not really answer the question, but no problem. We can. Caroline, you just mentioned you could probably answer the question. If you have a BA in hotel management, how can you start a career in revenue management if you have no prior internships in this field? What would you say? How can we help him or her with this question?
Yeah, in fact, it's funny, in the backside of us, we were actually sort of fighting over who got to answer this question. So we were definitely dealing with it, but just not visible. I said, like, I'm happy to answer on behalf of the schools, because I guess my peers will give the same answer, assuming that you're looking at a career in revenue management in hotels, because that's where your background lies. I would advise you to really look at the corporate programs, because they come to recruit, and most of the time, depending on how your school's organized, they in fact even prefer graduates, because having students still on an internship means that there's responsibility towards the school, report writing, going back to school for maybe exams that are still outstanding, etc. So really look at what corporate programs are out there. By now, most of the larger chains have a really sophisticated, well-designed corporate program for five-star luxury hotels, but definitely also the larger chains for the 2 or 3 star chains. Join one of our schools again, or switch to another one, because most of the schools offer either finance or revenue management specific actual master degrees, or courses that can really be a good bridge for you between what your current skill set and the direction that you want to go to. And maybe the third thing would be not to focus on the things that you can't do yet, or that you think you don't know well yet, but there are things that you were trained on that you know very well. And revenue management doesn't just happen in the finance department in an Excel sheet. It happens every single day in front office, in operations, in F&B. You do work with it. So find a good company or a good brand that you, in your courses, wherever you were taught, came up in examples or in benchmarks as a good example of how revenue should be done, or how revenue management can be done. And through your contacts, really connect to that company and see if through other departments you can slowly make your way, or fast, make your way to an actual 100% revenue management position. That would be my
Thank
answer.
you very much, Caroline. The answer was great. I must admit, I was a revenue manager myself a few years back, and I did not knew it when I started what was happening with me and where I go. We were starting with an Excel sheet and some piece of paper and ended up with a completely sophisticated revenue management system. So you will be trained within the hotels or within the chain about revenue management, and it's really within each and every hotel around there is some revenue management happening. So it's not always the sophisticated system in the backyard and you're sitting in the basement calculating some sheets. No, it's really in the front line. And I can encourage you, just as you just mentioned, Caroline, if you would like to go for revenue management, just go for it and use the opportunities in one of the main chains around that are or have opening positions. We did see an opening of job positions just 2 weeks back, over 92% increase in opening positions than the week before. So something that really started when hospitality was about to reopen in Austria, in the DACH region. I think in the Netherlands, it wasn't completely closed all the time. You were able to have some guests around. So it was a bit different, but as the center market, DACH market was about to reopen, you did see 92% more new jobs to be offered in all those boards around. There's another question around. I would love to probably ask Joshi or Stephanie, can the hotel schools offer more courses in digitals?
If they can, yes, they can, of course, more courses in digitals, but again, it would depend on the industry's needs and requirements. So depending on those needs and requirements, we may be able to identify which knowledge, skills, and abilities are necessary for our future managers to be perform their best in the end. Just right before Joshi and Caroline, you mentioned skills in terms of, analytical skills, the basics, critical thinking. I would add up, for instance, systemic thinking. Before even getting into the digital, we need to have some basics. Probably, and maybe the specificity of hospitality students is their ability for customer centricity. Sascha, just before you mentioned that it is important to create the scene and to be able to fit into this reorganizing settings in different companies, and probably that being able to deliver value in a flexible labor market will be important, co-creating the customer centricity. And if there is a need for digitalization in those experiences, the customer experience, for instance, then yes, of course, there will be more courses in digital. Recently, I conducted a research on digital recruitment. And maybe it could be considered as a counterintuitive result, but most of the potential candidates surveyed were more anxious about digital recruitment than they were enthusiastic about it. While the recruiters, on the other hand, would rather think that digital, virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence-based selection recruitment processes would be so attractive to employees and job seekers, and therefore may add up to the attractivity of companies, and therefore add up to the attractivity of hospitality sector. Not necessarily, because it brings up also some anxiety. So unless it is very important to bring up the digital for having work simulations that would offer students a better realistic job preview, then digital is not absolutely necessary everywhere. As you just said before, I think, Sascha, it's a help, but not the unique path for the future. Just like online is not the unique path for future of learning.
I think we should.
Thank you, Caroline. Something you want to add?
Yes, sorry. I think we also shouldn't overestimate I'm not sure what's meant by digitals, But maybe it's within our student base, but we still, even in the 4-year bachelor, also in the MBA, get a lot of requests for extra training on just simple Word, Excel, things like that. So although there's a bigger assumption that digital rules the world, and all of the students have all their apps and all their funny gizmos, but when it comes to actually more the back of house side of technology, how that works, that's a whole different ball game, and there's still a big need for being more educated on what makes technology, sort of the more technical side of it. So maybe, I don't design a curriculum in our school, but that could be something that we can definitely maybe focus on a bit more. Yeah.
Thank you. Josia, something you want to add?
Yeah, something about, because when I think about digital, I think data is very closely related to that as well. And the value of data, and to do the analysis and use that to design experiences, to perform your operations even more smartly, or whatever way in HR or I think, yes, there the value of data-driven hospitality is getting more important every day. So that's, for me, it's closely linked to digital. It's an more rationalized way of thinking of working.
Yeah, digital
Yes,
is a scary concept to a certain extent. I mean, we are launching a new master's in digital and circular transformation within the hotel industry in September, and there we also needed to, which was closely designed together with the industry, but also there in recruiting the students, we do need to explain to them exactly what the what the necessity is and what the market is and what difference they can make, because they don't have a very technical background.
And this is also probably something that could be shared among student councils, and that then could be something that the European HSMAI Student Council could develop to connect all the student councils together, so that they can share their experience, they can learn from one another, let's say, and share their visions on future career paths, what is necessary for those future career paths, how to make the student life a better student life. I think it's a nice initiative and opportunity for building up a hospitality network, and in the end, maybe make hospitality as the sector who could become the game changer for all other industries. Why not?
Thank you very much, Stephanie, for bringing the circle back together. I was just about to ask you the question Emil put in earlier. So what would you expect from Students' Council to come? And thank you very much for this idea. And Emil, I think this is something we can really take on to really get the students together and think, what are the needs we have? And if we're talking about digitalization, we're talking about completely different topics. I would love to see some processes digitalized. I would love to see some robots being around, helping my teams to focus on their core work, their hosting of our guests, and really being around there, and not talking about digitalization of having a website running. This should be normal in 2021, but I must admit it isn't. So probably it is something, Emil, we can take into consideration to sort this out. What will we need in the future from the hotel schools to be edutaining edutaining is a different thing. Educating to the students, what would we need in terms of skills of digitalization in the future in the business?
Yeah, I fully agree on that. And indeed, how students can prepare themselves also to, once they enter upon the job market, to also contribute to this whole digital move. So yeah, it's definitely something we could be working on in the next few months.
And Sascha, just before you mentioned the future of work, but in the end, it's our students who are the future of work. And if they smile at the future, it's them to build up this future and to decide on the extent to which digitalization could be also ethical, putting the human beings at the center and not forgetting that the human being is what we shall keep focused on, and keep it sustainable. It makes me think of the 3 Ps: good for the planet, good for the people, and of course profitable, so that you can redistribute the profit, let's say.
Absolutely. We have another question, and I think it was a very famous topic, bringing up revenue management. Another question coming up, and cautious of the time, I think we'll just drop it in and give a very short answer. There's someone also interested in an RM career, just finished the bachelor in hotel management in Norway. What would you say the skills needed are for revenue manager? And I think you mentioned it earlier very much. You need to be open-minded. You need to be open for technology, but at the same time, you need to be able to present your decisions. It's very important for a revenue manager today to transport the information digesting out of data and present it to an audience to really make the difference in between just being a data analyst and being a real revenue manager and working on these points. Again, Caroline mentioned it earlier, just go ahead and go to one of those major chains, apply for revenue management positions. There are some on the market. I'm 100% sure in Scandinavia, also in whole Europe, you will see a lot of revenue management positions open. We have 4 minutes left, so 3.5 if I'm not mistaken. I thank you very much. An hour is not enough time to discuss with you. I would love to spend another 2 or 3 with you and probably share a drink. I would love to encourage everyone around to connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, WhatsApp, Telegram, Instagram, wherever you will find us, normally under our normal names and into schools. A network is the most valuable thing in 2021 and beyond, I would say. And this is something you mentioned a few times around teamwork and group dynamics. And this is even in a complete digital world where we are right now, a very, very crucial part. So please connect, feel free to reach out. I thank you, Caroline, Jose, Stephanie, very much for being around. I know it was a short period of pre-work, as it was only the weekend when we reached out to you. So thank you very much for being with us for this open discussion. Emir, thank you very much for the efforts you put in to the European HSMAI Students Council to be started in September. I'm looking very much forward to it. I think we got a few very nice points to work on to create an idea of what the needs of the future are. So it's a great foundation to start from today and do some work until September. I will be more than happy to come together with you again to see what is the Students Council then and what we are working on, and it really evolve it over the time. On revenue management, a last point. Next week, we will have another HSMAI live show. It will be around revenue management and it will be hosted by my colleague, Frédéric Touetot. He's brilliant in revenue management and in education, coming from Accor. I think I can name the company here right now. It's no, so it's not an advertorial, but just short. So next week, next Tuesday, at 2 p.m. Central European Summer Time. It's the topic about revenue management and the teams. It's hosted by Frédéric Touetot. A big thank you to all of you, Caroline, Stephanie, Jose, for being with us today. Emil, thank you very much for launching the Students Council. I'm very much looking forward to it. Thank you everyone for being around with us today and have a lovely afternoon.